Canon R6 Mark III is here. Very leaked camera, but yeah, finally here.
Yeah, so we're not going to give you guys a full review of it because the model we had was supposedly very pre-production, even though it seemed to function absolutely perfectly. So we're basically giving you guys a first look at the unit. So we went out and we shot some footage with it at the Speed Festival in Cape Town, little hill climb that was here for the first time ever, which was kind of cool. So we were lucky enough to be there, shoot with the camera, see what it's all about, and then you shot some other stuff with it as well?
Yeah, I went to a Red Bull BMX event and yeah, got some really cool like fisheye shots with it as well.
Nice. So we'll take you guys through some of the specs of the camera, show you where it's different from the R6 Mark II, and very importantly, where it's similar to the all-new C50.
Now, Canon recently launched a super hot camera, the Canon C50, that we both really loved. And this Canon R6 III is kind of like a little brother, but not really. It's more like a twin brother to the C50.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the specs are virtually identical. So if we just run you guys through it sort of briefly. So first off, it's an all-new sensor from Canon. So it's now not all new anymore because it was in the C50 first, but it's a 34 megapixel full frame sensor in there, which is a nice bump up from the R6 Mark II, which was 24 megapixels. And that's like, that was always to me like the thing that was missing from it. Like it needed a little bit of a bump up to be more competitive with the Sony model, you know, the Sony equivalent. The other things on it that's also similar, of course, is going to be a lot of your video specs in there, which we'll dive into a little bit later. But what you're also getting here now is on that 34 megapixel sensor, you're getting all of Canon's new like dual pixel autofocus technology that they've pioneered in like the R3 and the R5 II and all of that kind of stuff. And you're getting 40 frames per second burst, and it's like unlimited. In the specs, they quote that you can go up to like 1,000 shots. I can't imagine why you would, but in all the bursting we did, like I never hit a buffer. I don't know about you, like never even touched it.
So on the sensor, just to kind of mention it, there is definitely some special sauce that Canon has added on the sensor, because in both stills and video, dynamic range is amazing. The image detail you get out of this sensor is just something different. When you look at the footage and you look at the images that you've shot, there is definitely some like secret sauce in that sensor.
Yeah, you can definitely tell that it's brand new technology. It's not a sensor that they've sort of reused somewhere else and just kind of plucked into this camera. It is brand spanking new, and there must be something that's come out in the last couple of years that's really bumped it up a bit, because it is, like as you rightly said, it is dynamic range that I expect in a lower megapixel sensor, and it's like just raw quality that I expect from something with more megapixels. And it's just a really, really good sensor.
Now, when you look at the R6 Mark II, traditionally it was sort of well known as a photo camera. Very popular in the sport community and very popular in the wildlife community. But most people buying it, to be honest, were traditional photographers. And I think with the R6 III, that will actually change a little bit. Because the R6 III, yes, of course, it still has all the beefier specs for photography, but the video specs they did not hold back on at all. And that's kind of interesting because, like we said earlier, it is very similar to the C50. So you have full raw open gate recording in this camera, which is really cool. You also can go to raw light. This is a 4K image, but it oversamples from a higher resolution. And that's why the image is so sharp when you look at it in video to a camera that maybe shoots like natively 4K.
Yeah, so, and I mean, like, that's really, really important. So, like, you're oversampling from a 7K sensor, if I remember correctly. And what's really kind of cool about this camera is, in the past, Canon's always had this mentality where, like, they have to kind of protect the cine cameras, you know? Like, we've been in seminars where Canon has, like, openly said this. Like, we got to protect this, like, the cine line. So that's why, you know, we remove some features from some of the stills cameras. And this for me is the first time that Canon's gone, nah, you know, we're going to put out two cameras, C50, R6 Mark III, like virtually the exact same specifications, but the bodies are tweaked to different, you know, kind of audiences. And I mean, let's be honest, very much in line with what Sony's done. You know, so think like A7S III with FX3, like very much the same type of setup as what they have there, and essentially let the audience decide what is more important for them. You know, you want to record RAW for like an infinite amount of time, essentially get yourself a C50.
Yep.
You know, if you want more of that stills functionality, you know, out of it, R6 III.
Yeah.
And I think that's a very, very solid move from them.
Yeah, that is an important thing to remember, because the C50 has a sort of heat sink with a little fan.
Absolutely.
And that also, as we experience, has a massive impact on battery life.
Yeah.
C50, not that great on the battery, but it requires more power. And that's also something we noticed when we're shooting with the R6 III, is the battery life was actually really good.
Yeah, I mean, I got a full day out of it. You got a full day out of it,
Yeah.
easily on one battery. So yeah, battery life, absolutely fantastic. Just some other video specs in here. So obviously 4K 30, 4K 60, 4K up to 120, but unfortunately it is baked in. It's in their like SNF modes. So that's baked in there. Of course, you've got all your standard HEVC, HEVC MXF formats, the HF, HEVC 422 10-bit, like all of that is in there. So like you're really spoiled for choice in terms of your recording formats. If you are gonna record RAW, it's big. Like it's massive. It's like off the top of my head, like close to 4,000 megabit per second. It is huge. You're gonna fill up a card in absolutely no time. But that footage is so robust,
Yeah.
like so chunky. You can edit that thing for days,
Yeah.
and like just no problem. The other thing I also want to say here is the same thing that we saw on the C50. Canon just nails their color science somehow, and especially noticeable when you're shooting video. That footage straight out of camera
It's
is
really good.
so nice, so good. The colors are accurate. Everything is just like you almost don't want to edit it. You know, like it is just so natural, so smooth, like really, really well done. Probably part of it due to that sensor technology, you know, but just also that like software color that they put in there, like really, really well done.
Yeah, the camera, on a note of the color, it can shoot in C-Log2 and also C-Log3. So like you said earlier, it's not taking anything away from the C50, it kind of shoots in the same sort of format. One thing that is quite different from the two models to mention is that the R6 III has the traditional photo menu.
Yes.
So even though you shoot between your sort of photo mode and your video mode, it stays in the classic photo menu. While with the C50, if you switch to video mode, it gives you that full cinema menu, which I actually for video prefer now these days. The cinema menu is a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's a much more robust menu. Like
Yeah.
I'm a bit more simple, so I quite like the stills
menu.
You know, it just makes a bit more sense. You know, to my slower brain. But yeah, I think like again, it's that differentiating factor.
For sure. Now, sticking with things they do not remove from this camera in the video side of things, you can import custom LUTs, very cool.
Yeah.
The other cool thing I saw is that you have a waveform assist, which makes exposure in video really good. You obviously have the general zebras as well. Now, when you're shooting in C-Log2 and 3, you have a base ISO of 800 and 6400. So also, again, something really cool that a photo model generally doesn't have two base ISOs. So that's really cool in the video side of things.
Yeah, so then in terms of stuff that's a little bit different, obviously, from the C50, just the body in general. So the obvious thing is, of course, the fact that it has a viewfinder, which on your C50 video orientated, you're not going to have. The idea there is to rig it up. This is, of course, supposed to be a self-contained unit, you know, for shooting. Now, something that is a little bit disappointing, so I was hoping that they'd bump it up a little bit. It is the same viewfinder as was in the R6 Mark II. So not like a complete fail, but you know, I would have liked to see a little bit of a bump in the resolution there. It is still 3.7 million dots, if I remember correctly. Also the same screen on the back. You have all the touch functionality and all of that, so perfectly nice to use. But again, I would have liked to just see a little bit of a bump in resolution on both of those. Everything else on the body, very, very standard, you know, nothing sort of out of the ordinary. You have, of course, a CF Express Type B and an SD card slot in there. The standard Canon LPE6P battery in there which lasts like crazy, which we've mentioned already. Everything else, very, very standard. You know, switch between photo and video mode, your dial buttons, everything kind of exactly as you expect on a Canon. You're going to pick it up. If you've held any Canon camera before, you will be right at home. You're going to be shooting within seconds. It is drop dead easy to operate.
Now, something very different from the C50, and I think probably one of the biggest advantages of this camera over the C50 is that this unit has a built-in IBIS, which the C50 doesn't have. So kind of an interesting thing. Obviously, with these stills models, that is a norm.
Yeah.
But for the C50, they removed that unit probably due to the size and the heatsink fan situation. I don't know.
Yeah, it could be.
But yeah, this camera, I think it's 8.5 stops stabilization. Works fairly well. When I was using it with the 815E fisheye, I did notice some weird wobbles. But I mean, it is a fisheye lens. I was using a RF adapter, so there's many factors to that issue. And obviously the wobbles, they can also sort of update with firmware.
Yeah, look, I mean, this is a pre-production model, so
Yeah.
you know, you never know what changes could come in there. Shooting on native RF glass, when I was shooting with it, no wobbles, no issues at all. Stabilizer rock solid.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like just exactly what you expect from these units. The other thing in terms of shooting with the camera that I found impressive but expected is, of course, the autofocus capabilities. So we were shooting a lot of cars with it, hill climb event, and exactly as expected, you point the camera, like I can barely see the car in the frame, and it knows. It's like it's exactly there. It knows it's a car. It's locked on, and no matter where that thing moves in your frame, as you're bursting, it just stays locked on. It's got it. It is, again, arguably the best autofocus in the market there. You know, like leading, I mean, like it's tight, but it's, it is just that good. And I mean, it's Canon. It's what we expect. It's nothing new. It's on a new version of their autofocus system, but it is just so incredible. And it's putting this camera in Canon's lineup. It's putting it awfully close to like flagship stills territory, like very, very close at the top there.
Now that's quite a cool point that you mentioned, that it's sort of like close to flagship territory, because I think that's maybe where Canon might have some issues with this unit. You know, we're not 100% sure what the price is of this camera, but looking at this machine, it has a lot, It has almost everything complete in one camera, and they did not strip or remove anything really from the camera. And that's tricky, because now you have a R6 Mark III and you have a C50, very similar, and it can't be too close to an R5 II's price.
Yeah.
And that's going to be the difficult one for Canon to decide where this unit is going to fit into in terms of their range and in terms of the price as well.
Yeah, that is going to be a tricky one, because I think in terms of video specs, this is super close to that R5 II. Obviously, still specifications, the R5 II still has a beat on megapixels and some other functionality in there. But yeah, Canon's going to have to do a bit of a juggling act in their range to make this fit perfectly. In terms of the camera itself, though, like I think that this is a very encouraging move from Canon. When that C50 first came out and the rumors started swirling that it's pretty much an R6 III that's in there, like I was ready for the R6 III to come and like basic video specifications.
Yeah, like strip some stuff away.
100%. Like take away as much as they could to create that artificial gap in their range. And I'm so happy to see that Canon hasn't done that. And I mean, it feels like it's a first for them, to have not done and gone down that road. And I absolutely love it. And I want to see it with more units, because I want to see an APS-C, C50, give me that C30 or whatever, you're going to call it, and drop a similar camera at the same time. Like there's scope for it now, there's like room in their range for it. And if this is what they're doing and if this is where they're heading, then I'm super happy with what Canon is putting out at the moment. The R6 III for me, like absolute winner. A big enough upgrade from the 2, like a massive upgrade from the 2, and I'm going to put money down that this is going to be an absolute winner in their range. It's going to be the most popular camera out there, like by far.